Pokegods, Flying to the Moon, Venus Toys, and a lot of others. They all have something in common. If you were at school at the time of Pokemon game's release, then I am sure at least one person in your class, potentially even you, believed in these things. Secret content and interactions meant to be found only by people who spent a lot of hours into the game. And the other thing they had in common, they were all false. That's why Fear and Hunger fascinated me. Today, we have access to a lot of online resources for all the games in the world. You know what's the problem? Despite it being released in 2018, until recently there were almost no information about it whatsoever. The only existent wiki at the time was lackluster, and we're gonna go back to this later. And that's how we arrived to today's video. I have two main goals for today. Dismantle permanently those stupid myths, but also to keep the record alive in your hearts. We will talk both about myths and about not completely clear things which may create some confusion in the community, especially because there is still not enough info about them online. Let me know how many of these you already knew, and now come with me for these 20 fake facts which you potentially believe in Fear and Hunger! For today's video, I think it's gonna be very important to present you the villain, the real antagonist of the dungeon. Are you ready? Let me show you the Fandom Wiki. This was, until not too long ago, the only wiki available on the whole game. So, presumably, the main thing consulted by anyone who played the game. And you know what's the problem? A lot of the information contained in here is either obsolete or wrong. And the reason I'm talking about this is because, as you may imagine, this is gonna come up very frequently in the facts I'm gonna tell you about. So, let's start with the most classic ones. This is, in my opinion, the legendary trinity of Fear and Hunger. Get it? Legendary because they are not real. Let's read for a second the skill Combustion. A large combustion of iron flames, it's a bit uncontrollable, so caution is advised. And that last line is the main thing that caused this legend. A huge part of the community believed that Combustion, when used, was able to potentially cut off one of your limbs. In this old discussion from 2019, this person is asking if Combustion and Salmon Snake Soul prevents your arms from being cut off. At the time, there weren't any data miners for the game, so the potential to understand what those skills exactly do was very limited. It was all speculation. For example, this person says they never had any problems using Combustion, but regardless of that, a huge amount of people believed in it. And even if it's impossible to understand who was the very first person to believe this and to spread the virus, there is something we can read, which is present in the Fandom Wiki in a very old version of the page of Combustion. What it used to say about Combustion was: powerful magic attack that inflicts burn damage, doesn't cost any mind, but small chance of backfiring and blowing a limb off. And from what I said prior, I think you can already understand. Even if this was not potentially the very first way in which people understood the blowing a limb off part, being the only source of information potentially brought a lot of people to read this part and to think that Combustion is able to blow limbs off. And it is not even just a thing that was changed in later versions. I recently had the chance to play even the demo and the version 1.2. In both of these versions, Combustion was completely fine, so I can just assume it was just an urban legend. What confuses me even more is the next legend. Apparently, if a character reaches 0 mind, they are instantly gonna die of a heart attack. Which, as you may already know, it's not true. The only thing that happens at 0 mind is just getting a panphobia on that character, and nothing else. But you know what's funny? When I made a video talking about mind events in Fear and Hunger, and I talked about this specific thing even in there were two types of responses to this. The first one was people thinking it was just a remnant of Darkest Dungeon. In case you don't know, Darkest Dungeon is another dungeon crawler with a specific mechanic. Once a character goes to 200 stress, they are gonna be brought to the death door, or they're gonna die from an heart attack. And that's why some people just assume this myth was because of that, and I'm just like, what? I don't know, if a mechanic exists in one game, it does not mean in another completely unrelated game it exists too. Darkest Dungeon is not even from the same producer of Fear and Hunger, what the... And the other type of people people are those which still believe that they died of a heart attack. For example, these people in the comments said, "I'm like 80% sure I died of a heart attack," while this one thinks the character goes insane at Zero Mind, which causes them to potentially result in a game over. And I think I know what's the main reason for this legend. I think it's a Mandela effect. A Mandela effect is just a distortion of an old memory you have in order to give it sense. Let's look at Fear and Hunger. We have the miasma events where a character goes insane. We have characters which at less than 70 or 50 mind can leave the party, and when you leave some rooms they may potentially die automatically. And then we have the mind bar. Yes, I think this belief was just caused by this unconscious connection between these events. Or maybe I'm just coping, but still, no, characters do not die when you're at Zero Mind. Alright, let me just check the time very quick. 6 minutes. And we only talked about 2 legends, we have to speed up, so, next one. Do you remember Peck, the attack from the Crow Mauler which insta-kills a party member? Iron Mask does not protect from Peck. And once again we go to the fandom wiki. I hate you with all my life. In an old version of the page of the Crow Mauler, it in fact said these exact words. Peck will cause the attack party member to instantly lose its head, resulting in immediate death. The only way to prevent this is to have the plate helmet or Isaiah's Iron Mask equipped. Of course, both of these are false. Plate helmet is not even mentioned normally when people talk about Iron Mask, but still. There is an even funnier thing I want to share with you. When I was doing my research through all the discussions on the main Discord server of Fear and Hunger, I also came across this message right here. Does Penance/Iron Mask blocks Peck? And a 600 IQ person responds, none does. Only blinding him is the only method to avoid Peck. And you know why I find this funny? Because while this person was able to understand that Iron Mask does not protect from Peck, they were still wrong, because Penance Armor does protect from Peck. But still I can't blame them too much. And this was the Trinity. Now we're gonna go over a lot of other legends which are less known than these ones I just discussed about. When I made a video about how to recruit Najwa, several people said something along these lines under it. If you have an AI party member like Moonless or a Skeleton, he can't be recruited as they will attack him every turn. You can dump the undead before searching for bodies, but there is no way to put Moonless aside, none whatsoever, at all. This person was seemingly very frustrated by this, and I'm very sorry. You know why I'm very sorry? Because it doesn't matter? No. AI party members like Moonless or Ghouls or Skeletons, it doesn't matter. If anyone attacks Najwa, you can still recruit him as long as you talk and you have the Cube of the Depths and the Eclipse Talisman with you. My best bet is this was another Mandela effect. Probably these people did not have either the Eclipse Talisman or the Cube of the Depths, and after Moonless attacked Najwa they just believed that it was the cause for which they weren't able to recruit him. Oh, and apparently while searching for this person on Reddit says that Moonless is able to attack heads without an accuracy penalty, which is false. Next legend! This one is kinda the game fault, honestly. I don't want to blame anyone that believed in this. Do you remember Miasma, the sword that apparently oozes toxic gases? Or the Ritual Spear, whose tip is coated in poison? Yeah, these don't apply poison. No, these 2 weapons do not apply poison. Yeah, these item descriptions caused a lot of confusion in the community. Some people were asking if they were able to apply poison, some people were asking the percentage of them to apply poison. And since there were no data miners, no one was able to prove they were wrong, because it could have just been a very low percentage which no one actually saw in their limited amount of runs. Because remember, up until recently, Fear and Hunger was a very niche game, played by a very limited amount of people. And this is gonna come up again soon. The next legend I want to talk about is debatable. Potentially you that are watching this video came to Fear and Hunger because of Super iPatch Wolf video. In there, they said something very important, that eyeglasses increased their chances of hitting heads. And while that is not technically wrong, I think people took it a little bit extremely. Let's use as an example the guard head. The base chance to hit the head with a normal weapon is 43.6%. But with the eyeglasses, it is 45%. Wow, that's a total 1.4 boost to the precision. That happens because the eyeglasses influence your accuracy, they do not influence the evasion of the opponent. Your accuracy, your base accuracy, 97%, will go to 100% with both eyeglasses and monocle. But the heads still have their own physical evasion. The only good concrete usage for eyeglasses is to have them equipped if you use the Bone Shears, because Bone Shears reduce your accuracy by 50%. It's a pretty difficult concept, of course. Normally everyone, even I, thought at the very start that eyeglasses were able to do this exact thing. And again, without data mining, there is no real way to understand if you are right or wrong. You may just be lucky attacking the heads, or not. But for the next legend, I think the main fault is the game updates. I will say it, there is a difference between Bone Shears and Warscythe. Warscythe has a very low accuracy too, but it's a different accuracy than the reduction of accuracy caused by the Bone Shears. You see, there is a factor called success chance, which is the possibility for an attack to actually work or not. And it is completely unrelated from accuracy and evasion. As an example, the normal attack of all the weapons of the game has a success chance of 100%. After that, there is the accuracy and then there is the evasion. You know what's the problem? There is an exception. The Warscythe and the Cursed Warscythe have a success chance of 30%. This cannot be influenced by anything you have access to in the game. Even with 100% accuracy, this value will still remain 30%. You know why a lot of people may not know this? Because this was changed. Warscythe is one of the only weapons that got nerfed with future updates of the game. And let's be real, being able to attack every part of the opponent with almost 100% chance would be surreal in the current version. Now, remember when I said Fear and Hunger had a pretty niche community? Imagine yourself for a second in this situation. You are playing on hard mode in a time where there is no online resource to consult and no community to discuss with which actually knows exactly what they're talking about. Would you try to get Demon Seed in order to see if you can use the baby demon? First of all, you would already need to know that Demon Seed exists. Second of all, I don't think you would. And that's the same thing other people did. They just assumed it did work, but they didn't really see the benefit in getting it. For example, here, they're asking if you can spawn a demon baby through the Demon Seed skill, and if you can spawn safe books with empty scrolls. Yes and yes, of course. But on hard mode? I'm planning to do some hard mode experimentation. Are you seeing what I mean? In a world like this, a lot of things were still completely unknown, without even knowing what happens if Darcy uses Demon Seed, for example. Oh, and just as a side note, I found something that made me smile while looking for the Demon Kid information. This person said they used an empty scroll to get the Sergal Spear. And as you know, in the current version you cannot use an empty scroll to get the Sergal Spear. So I booted up my old version of the game, and look at that, you can get the Sergal Spear and the Miasma with empty scrolls. That's not important, that's not fundamental, but it's funny. The next one is funny to me as well, because, how can I say it? Let's say at the very beginning, I too fell for these, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna say it. No, you cannot get Najra as a tank using pheromones. Najra is immune to the pheromones effect. And then what are the reasons which brought people and me to believe into it? First of all, of course, there was the fandom wiki. Najra will complain and threaten the player if you use the pheromone spell on him, though it will still work. And second of all, there was just ambiguity. Najra just screams at you after you do it. He doesn't really have any consequences, on the surface at least. And I think that's what brought a lot of people to just assume that yes, you can use pheromones on Najra. You can, but either by luck or just by assuming extra steps, this made everyone believe that you can have an immortal tank in your party. Like, logically speaking, I would never assume the game gives me the chance to have an immortal meat shield. But in the same way, I would assume the game to logically consume arrows if I use the short bow in battle. But that's false. If you shoot with the bow in the battle, you do not consume any arrows. Look, I have 6 arrows right here. Let's use them and let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look, Mom, I can count up to 6 now. Let's go back in the inventory and oh, 6 arrows. That's convenient. Arrows are only consumed for the overworld mechanic of the bow, where if you click shift, you will shoot, and if you have a marksmanship skill, you will insta-kill some enemies, or you will just destroy some of their limbs. The funniest part is, in the game files, there is actually something that may refer to the possibility of losing arrows while shooting in battle. But not only it's implemented in the wrong way, but also it does nothing. So probably it was discarded either for balance purposes or just because the developers developer couldn't figure out how to do it. Okay, so, do you like extra turn in Fear and Hunger? Because I love extra turns. In my opinion, the White Angel Soul is one of the most broken souls in the game. Acting multiple times gives you the possibility to influence the course of the battle more. But wait, what happens if I increase my agility even more? Do I get multiple extra turns? Can I attack like 5 times in a row? No. You only get 1 extra turn at max, and in order to get it, you need to have at least 50% more agility than the average agility of the opponents. There is only one precise situation when having more than 20 agility is actually beneficial. The God of Fear and Hunger has 20 agility. If you want to get an extra turn with this, you need to have the White Angel Soul and either Brown Vial or Fast Attack. That is the only way to get an extra turn with the God of Fear and Hunger. Okay, I think we did enough legends which didn't involve the fandom wiki, so let's go to the Cave Dweller Massacre being related to time. So, the fandom wiki says that if the player takes too long to appear in the Cave Dweller village, all the Cave Dwellers will be dead, massacred by a single Moonless Guard. And not only the Moonless Guard is not one, but there are 2, but also this is just straight up wrong. The Cave Dweller Massacre is not caused by time, it is decided in a precise moment, so let me show you when. Yeah, let's create our characters. And wait, I think you missed it. Yeah, in that moment when I selected the name of the character, the game already decided if the Cave Dweller village will be alright or if there will be the massacre. But once again, I fully blame the fandom wiki and not people, because this to me too seems the most logical conclusion. Furries massacre those poor Furries? Whatever. Those poor dwellers off screen if player haven't met them before certain time limit. Are there any other time-based events aside from the Cave Dweller Massacre? Honestly, I would appreciate it more if it was more time-based. Currently, the only really important time-based event is Legard. Like, okay, there is Bachman and Seymour becoming a failed marriage, but still, having more of these time-related events will reward experienced players. But for now, we can only dream and pray that the developer updates the game. Wait, I said pray? You better not pray multiple times to the gods on the same ritual circle. It is not beneficial, it will reduce the amount of praise you already did if you do that. It just damages you as a whole. God Affinity is probably one of the most complex mechanics for a newcomer, and imagine this in a time where they can't even consult the community or online resources. Of course, this causes the spread of false ideas. For example, you're supposed to pray to the same god at each statue and once in the circle. Which of course is false, because you need to pray to the correct god in each statue. Or brings even to create some fanfiction ideas, where apparently you need to pray to a chosen deity, and continue pray only to that until it's maxed, or something. Even though, that would be interesting honestly, but maybe for balance purposes it would be too weird. And it would also heavily reduce the amount of personalization in battles. The next one is comical, because even now, I don't exactly understand what caused this myth to happen. Apparently, if you get Kahara in the prisons and then he escapes, and then you take the Blue Sin and use the passages of Mahabre, Kahara will not be present in the mines anymore because they collapsed, which is not true. The only possible reason, which I think may have made this spread, you know what it is? If you go here, you see it all collapsed on the left side, so you maybe automatically assume that everything on the left of it collapsed, which potentially may make you believe that Kahara died, but still, like, I don't know. Trying to decompose this and understand the cause is both the most funny and the most weird thing I've ever done in this game. Okay, the next legends are very simple, so I'm just gonna briefly go over them. Are you ready? A lot of people thought Isaiah spawns when you reach Legard, but that's false. It spawns when you trigger the Crow Mauler, when you see this message on the screen. Who can we blame for this? The fandom, of course! After the player finds Legard, either alive or dead, they may return to the level 1 floors to find Isaiah. I freaking despise the fandom. Eating dirt restores hunger? No, it doesn't. I talked about this both in an iceberg video and in a specific video based on hunger, and yet there are still people that doubt it. Even in the comments, dirt is not 100% useless because you can eat it. If I'm not wrong, it takes 1 hunger point. Dirt isn't actually useless. Using it will restore an entire point of hunger. Actually, dirt is an eatable item. It makes you regain 1 point of... Where the hell did they gain 1 point of hunger by eating dirt? It does not matter how much dirt you eat, how much dirt you have. No, it does not restore anything. And in the same way, no, Najra and the Demon Kid do not follow you in the void. Najra is pretty simple, he just doesn't want to sit on the throne anymore. Demon Kid, Oh, and just to be precise, I mean even the Demon Baby. Both of the versions don't follow you in the void, okay? Also, no, enemies do not respawn in the dungeon. If you clear a zone, it's completely cleared, you can sleep in bed peacefully. There is also a weird bug which in some zones still causes the coin flip attack to appear, but nothing happens afterwards, you can just leave the zone and go back to the bed and sleep again. Penance armor cannot be equipped by the abominable marriage. What I do usually with the mercenary is that I steal the key from Torture, kill the Salmon Snake, get his soul, summon some goals, do 2 marriages, and get into the Penance armor. Do you see the problem? You cannot enter in the Penance armor. The mercenary can, the marriage can, the abominable marriage, no. Probably it's just another Mandela effect. Oh, and on that note, what's better? Regular marriage on Penance armor or abominable marriage on regular armor? Even though the abominable marriage cannot equip any armor, so... okay. And the last legend I want to talk about is more a personal thing. You see, in the past, I made a character tier list, where I talk about upsides and downsides of everyone, and I try to give my own take on them. For sure, I was expecting someone to have a different opinion from mine. But on a specific character, the different opinion was caused by a very bizarre reason. I did place the girl on C tier alongside Kahara, the Marriage, and Moonless. And here is where I start to not understand anything anymore. Girl Imo should be on B tier as she can be a very decent mage. Okay, yeah, sure, she can be a very decent mage, but the girl can learn any spell in the game. I mean, yeah, she can learn any spell in the game with the scrolls, but what I want to say is she can learn almost every spell and is such a blank slate that you aren't dropping any positives when focusing solely on a mage build. What I want to say is that everyone can learn magic. The girl learns magic using scrolls. Everyone can learn magic using scrolls, even ghouls and skeletons. Even all those that are on the same tier as the girl, Moonless, Kahara, and Marriage, can all learn magic. Now, don't misunderstand me, the girl with spells is good, of course. You know what I think happened here? I think someone actually talked about how the girl with spells is crazy, and a lot of people came to the assumption that, yeah, with spells she is stronger than most characters, but that's not a peculiarity of the girl. I understand that this last legend I brought you is not exactly a legend, and more an open discussion, we may say, but this is also another thing I wanted to talk about in this video. People can have a great impact on common opinion. Potentially, even me. If I start saying that, I don't know, War Scythe is the best weapon in the game, potentially someone, even without testing it themselves, may actually believe in it. Especially in the online world, where we are subjected to a lot of text from a lot of people in a lot of different moments of the day. But you know, there is another example of this in Fear and Hunger. There is not only one, there are actually 2 characters which were completely destroyed by the common opinion. But today, it's not the time to talk about them. For the time being, if you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about this thing. But for now, I was Frapollo94, and I will see you next time.